Good morning, everyone. Leanne and I are here to give you a few tips and tricks on tracking your macros. So this video is not necessarily how to use MyFitnessPal. It's very intuitive, and if you have any questions, you can post them. Basically, use the plus sign to add your foods, and we will be talking about a few of the different screens. Oh, Leanne is on. Leanne, I will add you in. Add. Cool. So it's adding Leanne. I'll pause talking for just a second. You guys, great job today so far. But again, the purpose of this.
Hello.
Hello. Well, aren't you fancy?
Yeah.
This is work Leanne.
This is work, Leanne. Yes. Last time you saw hair up after working out, Leanne. Today is work, Leanne.
Yeah, this is morning Kylie. Oh my gosh. But we will dive right in because I know we don't have a lot of time, you guys. But as I mentioned a second ago, this video is not how to use MyFitnessPal because it's a very intuitive app, but rather what are tips and tricks to help you hit your numbers along with a few other key points. So it's already been asked and it will be asked again. But if you are listening, tell your friends as well. Do not put your exercise in MyFitnessPal. I'm going to make a separate post on this today with some graphics that will explain exactly why. But please do not enter your exercise in MyFitnessPal. It will add calories back in that you don't need to be eating. So just because you go to a spin class, that doesn't mean you get to eat 300 more calories. This is one of the reasons why some of us haven't been able to reach our goals yet. Leanne, do you want to hit the next points?
Yeah, so especially if you're brand new to tracking, it's really a great idea to enter your whole day ahead of time, or even just enter what you think you're going to eat into MyFitnessPal. Check it out, see if you agree with the macros fitting in with your day. Nothing's off limits, but if you enter it in, you may start to maybe make a different decision, go ahead and delete it. I think you delete it by just swiping to the left and then you tap the red square. But it's okay to enter stuff into MyFitnessPal that you haven't eaten yet, because that's going to help you to plan out the rest of the day.
Absolutely. And to this point, so how do you know if it fits? You guys want to be looking at the grams, not the pie chart that shows the percentages. So for those of you who are around one, I gave you a calorie count, let's say 1,800 calories, and 30%, 35% protein, 30% carb, 35% fat. Those percentages are no longer, I no longer care about the percentages. I only care about the grams. So next week, when we start posting our macro screenshots, I want to see your grams. And if you're not sure how to get there, scroll to the bottom of your daily diary, hit the nutrients screen, and then you will see, it will say how many you've had, how many your goal is, and how many you have remaining. This is probably the screen that you're going to look at the most. How many macros do you have remaining? And before I get ahead of myself, when you're hitting your macros, when you're actually tracking your macros, you're hitting those grams plus or minus 5. We have to be pretty exact. I can't have you being 20 off here, 10 off there consistently, because then you're not tracking your macronutrients. That's just logging your food. And this becomes even more important down the road when we're trying to make decisions on should I track my macros, because my first question is going to be, were you compliant? And 20 grams off of your macros is not compliance. So Leanne, next one.
Yep. So I recommend eating protein earlier in the day and often, at least at the beginning. Sometimes the protein goal can be one of the hardest things if you're brand new to tracking. So when I started tracking macros, I found it really helpful to eat a lot of protein early on. And like right now, I'm eating a Greek yogurt for breakfast. I already did a protein shake. That way I'm not playing catch up at the end of the day. I think probably everyone will play catch up at some point if you're really, really committing to consistent hitting your macros. But if you start to kind of position your day so that you can hit your macros by the end of the day without cramming in, you're going to start to realize that there's kind of, my cheater is protein early on in the day because I know I'm going to eat those carbs and fats at the end of the day. Kylie brought up the pie chart. Again, we want to be focused on the other screen that shows the macros, but you can use the pie chart to kind of help you balance out your proteins, fats, and carbs. I don't use the pie chart necessarily to hit the goals, but I will look at the pie chart like midway and be like, great, I've got 60% of my proteins done. That's awesome. I've eaten way more protein throughout the day. So if you're really like into numbers and tracking throughout the day, that pie chart is actually super useful. And then come the end of the day, it's going to be balanced. You're going to be plus or minus 5 in the macros screen or in the nutrients screen. And yeah, you'll start to learn kind of what works for you. But I would recommend protein early and often.
Absolutely. And it's fun, you guys. Like, the numbers are fun. And if you find it like daunting, let us help you reframe it so that it is fun for you as well.
Yep.
If you're brand new to this, try to keep your meals simple because it's going to make your tracking so much easier. So just as you're ramping up, just as you're learning, I'm not saying you need to eat like a bodybuilder for the rest of your life, but it will just, like I said, it just makes it easier and more doable, and you'll be happy at the end of the day. Do you want to talk about saving things, Leanne? Or what were you going to talk about?
I was going to say with the simple point, I eat the same thing for breakfast and lunches all the time. And I do that because I prep on Sunday for the whole week because I know that the work week's going to be crazy. So I'm going to eat the same things for breakfast and lunch, and then I kind of switch it up for dinners. Some people do that a little bit differently depending on their schedules, but if you keep it simple and a little bit consistent for some of those meals, you're going to find that it's easier to meet your macros.
And sorry, so I'm going to interject something real quick. Anyone who's reading Atomic Habits, you will find that that is one of the habits of successful people. Like, you have to fight through the boredom. And I'm not saying we can't enjoy our food and all of that, but sometimes if you want to hit your goals, you have to do some things that you don't always want to do. And maybe I don't want to always eat eggs and oatmeal for breakfast, but honestly, I do. But you just got to get through that. You got to get through that to that point. I love eggs and oatmeal.
Me too.
Yeah.
So when it comes to saving macros, if you know that you have something on your calendar, a special event, one example is I know that I have a happy hour for work next week. I am probably going to save my carbs for the end of the day. So I'm going to eat a little bit less carbs throughout the day so that I know I can save some carbs for a couple of drinks, and we'll talk more about alcohol later. But if you know something's coming up or a birthday and you want to eat that cake, again, nothing is off limits. Just plan ahead for it, save up for it, and you can totally make tracking macros work, even if you have special events and dinners out and things like that happening.
Absolutely. So if you know, like, you're going to go to your mother-in-law's house and she makes the best cheesecake. So this is like a real life story for me. I know that if I'm going to go to Sue's and she has cheesecake, I'm eating that cheesecake. So I'll put that in the morning. So I know I've got space for it. I'm not stressed over, oh God, can I make it fit? Oh, I can only have like a bite. No, you can have however much you want as long as it's in there ahead of the day. And I just know I'm not going to be eating a lot of fats in my breakfast or in my lunch because they're all going to be in that cheesecake. Do you want to talk about, well, I'll talk about this and then you can go on. At the end of so as we go through this, you're going to be like, where can I find more protein? It's not like we're going to have a magical new source of protein that you don't know about. You're just going to be wanting to tweak your amounts. Same thing with fats. You might find that you're going over on your fats. It's not that you need to eliminate your fats, but if you're cooking with olive oil, you're going to reduce from a tablespoon to maybe a teaspoon. If you're eating eggs, you might go from having 3 whole eggs to down to 1 whole egg and 3 egg whites. So it's not so much you're going to be eating different foods. You're just going to be adjusting the amounts of them. Even with the carbohydrates, maybe before you ate, half a cup of rice, but you're finding that's putting you over in your macro. So let's adjust that so you still get your rice, but you're just going to eat a little bit less of it. So that's going to be the tweaking part of the carbs, proteins, and fats that you'll get used to. What else you got,
And
Leanne?
then when you're eating and tracking macros, again, focus on the +or -5 for each of the fats, carbs, and proteins, right? And don't worry so much about if your calories are off. So each of those macros has a conversion to number of calories, but you're going to see a little bit of variance. So even if you're hitting your macros and you end the day and you're like, oh crap, I'm 20 calories over or whatever, do not worry about that. Just focus on the +or -5 grams. There's going to be fluctuations as far as like on the nutritional value. They round different ways for the calories. Stick with the grams on the macros. Just trust us on this one.
Yes. A lot of people are going to ask, should I eat, 3 meals, 2 snacks, 3 big meals, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, it doesn't matter. And that's what's so great about this. If you intermittent fast, you can still have your same feeding window. You just want to meet your macronutrient goals in grams in that time, So if you do like to have 3 larger meals, let's say that you're in fat loss macros and you're finding that this calorie deficit is, it's a little challenging, and you like to feel full after your meals. So you might eat fewer meals, but let them be larger. So if you like that full feeling, eat less often, but make those meals, have more macros. If you don't like that, if you like to just, eat a little bit at a time, then by all means, eat 6 smaller meals. But there is no right way to do it. At the end of the day, just hit your numbers.
Yep. That's what I really liked about tracking macros. I thought I was going to be hungry all the time. And so I'm one of those people that I used to like snack a lot. I still snack a lot, but this time I'm snacking on something different. And I'm one of the people that eats like 7 times a day. That's what I really like, because then if I get that snack thing happening, I'm like, okay, like I have a snack that's going to work for this need to eat a snack right now. So the really cool thing about tracking macros is that you make the timing of the eating work for you. You can do those special meal timing plans, and that's fine, and you can track macros doing that. But if you need to be able to flexibly eat throughout the day, this is a good option.
I will say, if anybody in this group does intermittent fast and you have not tracked your macros before, that first meal right out the gate, no matter what your macros are, you're going to need to have 30 to 40 grams of protein. Because I know, like, on the weekends, wait till we have this weekend, you're going to be like, oh, I eat less on the weekend. Well, I don't eat breakfast. Our meals are all different. It's hard to hit your macros on the weekend for different reasons. Make sure that first meal is protein dense. Unless you know for sure you're eating a shit ton of protein at lunch and dinner,
Yep.
Yeah. When it comes to snacks, so Nicole posted a great question, like, is this a good thing? Honestly, anything can be a good thing. I will say this. When it comes to your snacks, let there be protein in your snacks, especially if you're new. Because if it's only a carb snack, and you're going to have trouble meeting your protein goal at the end of the day. So chips don't cut it. Cereal doesn't cut it. Trail mix doesn't really cut it. You want it to have some sort of protein in it. So I'm just going to say that for now.
Kylie, have you talked about why protein, like higher protein with curbing hunger? And we're working, a lot of people are doing calorie deficit here.
Yeah. No, do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So many of you are working fat loss macros right now. And if you're eating those protein dense snacks and meals, and you have a higher protein goal, probably, that is going to help with the hunger cravings. The reality is we are working calorie deficit. Many of you are going to feel kind of full for us to be doing that deficit in calories, but that's because of the high protein. So eat those high protein meals and you're going to just be able to comply a lot better with the lower calories.
And what's really cool, you guys, anyone who's a questioner in the 4 tendencies, I'll tell you why. Protein is what we call an expensive macronutrient. So there's something called the thermic effect of food. Your body works to digest. Protein's thermic effect is higher, significantly higher than carbs and fats. So that means you are going to burn calories while you digest your protein. So there's like 3 reasons you want to hit your protein. 1, to build some muscle. 2, for that thermic effect. 3, to stay satiated while you are in a caloric deficit. So eat that protein. Lots of reasons why.
Yep.
What else? What else should we talk about, Leanne?
So if you are listening to this video and you're like not sure about tracking macros overall, that's okay. Not everyone has to track macros. If you decide tracking macros is not right for you, that's totally fine as well. There is a difference between logging and tracking though. And what I would recommend is everyone in this group, just start to at least write down what you're eating. Even if you're not going to track macros, logging the foods that you're eating is going to help you build some awareness on, okay, this is what I'm eating. This is maybe some changes I could make. I don't necessarily need to eat that many times every day. So if you're not going to track macros, I still recommend logging your food for a couple of weeks probably to give yourself a really good idea of what you are putting in your body. I know it sounds obvious that we should know what we're putting in our body, but you may not. So write those things down. Use your journals, if you're not using MyFitnessPal, or just get MyFitnessPal, log some food so that you can become a little bit more aware.
Yeah, because there are things that you're going to want later on in the program. We're going to talk about noticing and naming. I brought it up in our first chat, but we're going to do some other noticing and naming when it comes to snacking. If you stand in the kitchen and you just keep putting your hand in the bag or the box of whatever, there's a reason that you're doing that. Maybe it's not that you're stressed. Maybe it's that you're bored. Maybe it's that you're tired. Maybe you're avoiding doing something else. But when you write it down, you can start to see trends. So that's why the food log is just as important as tracking your macros. Awesome point, Leanne. Thank you very, very much. One thing I would like to talk about is the eatthismuch.com app or website. If you're having trouble hitting your numbers, I don't even know how I'm going to do this, go to eatthismuch.com. I'll put a link down below. You can enter the calories that I've given you, the macros, any foods that you do not like, how many times a day you like to eat, and it will generate a sample day for a meal plan. So you could see, oh, well, that's not that hard. That's not like I'm eating all the time. It's just a really great way to get some ideas. If they post something that you don't like let's say the snack was tomatoes and cottage cheese, you're like, ew, gross, I hate tomatoes. You can hit this little refresh button and it'll give you a different snack.
Is that what you do?
I don't do tomatoes. I love cottage cheese though. I like it with berries. But if it was avocado, I'd be like, ew, gross, no, refresh.
Which is crazy. If you can't trust anyone that doesn't like avocados, so don't trust Kylie.
They're boogers. They're just slimy boogers.
I disagree. On the topic of meal planning, if you are using one of the meal prep services, or you're buying the pre-made meals, I do the Blue Apron dinners, and then I sometimes buy Icon meals because they go to my front door and I need that. But if you are doing those services and you're logging or tracking macros, when you go into MyFitnessPal, as long as you type in the recipe word for word, whatever's on the Blue Apron card, you got to type in that full recipe name and then Blue Apron or whatever it is, HelloFresh or Sunbasket, whatever you're using. You should be able to see those recipes already in MyFitnessPal. The beauty of MyFitnessPal is everything is in there. So you can type those recipes in, or you can scan items on the on store-bought packages. There's a scan feature in MyFitnessPal. If you are logging something, you also can find a little green checkbox next to foods that you find in the search of MyFitnessPal. That's a certified, they verified the macros on it. So select those options and be as specific as you can. You can't always be perfect, especially if you're, ordering something out. You might have to do a little bit of guessing when you're tracking macros. But be as accurate as you can by picking a selection that is as close to what you're eating as possible.
Yes, and we will talk about going out to dinner and all of these things. So let's use my dinner last night, which Tokyo Joe's. Um, when you go out to eat, I like to dissect it. I do know, I brought that meal home, so I do know that there were 4 ounces of chicken on it because I weighed it. Oftentimes, restaurants will tell you. I've gone like to Applebee's and I was deciding what I should get. So I asked the server, it's like, how many ounces of chicken come with this? And he was like 6. I was like, sold, give it to me. But dissect your meals. So with that bowl, I had 4 ounces of chicken. There were some snow peas in there. There was some sweet potato in there. There were some carrots. There was some broccoli. I divvied all that out rather than just logging in Tokyo Joe's white chicken bowl. If you go out to dinner and you get a salad, don't just look for Chili's quesadilla chicken salad. Look at that salad, dissect it, and put each individual item in, at least the ones that are going to impact your macros. I'll never forget, it was one of the very first rounds, and it was my cousin Tara. She like went to, let's say, Applebee's, and she got a chef salad. She put in the chef salad, and it was like, there were so many options. She didn't know which one to choose. And I was like, no, don't do that. Just put whatever is in that chef salad and, like I said, dissect it. Be as accurate as you can when you can, like Leanne said, so that you can guess the best you can when you need to guess.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else? I feel like something I'm missing. You guys that are watching, do you guys have any questions?
When you're logging food, I know you did the protein post this morning, is that
Yep.
correct? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to start to notice that we're seeking out proteins now. That's the reality. And you're going to notice that some proteins also have some other macros in them. So if you're, one really good example, and this one really, I didn't know this when I started tracking macros. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to put chicken in a lot of these different meals. And then I started to notice that the cut of the chicken matters. Nothing's off limits, and sometimes I want a certain cut of chicken, and that's fine. But if you're going to use something that is close to the bone, so like a thigh or a bone-in, like a wing or a drumstick or something like that, you are going to need to allow for a higher fat there. It's a great protein source, but you're going to notice different cuts of steak. They have different protein versus fat macronutrients. So when I first started tracking, I would log those different things and figure out, what's the best option for my day today before I ate it. Going back to that log before you eat.
I mean, that is a huge point. Once you hit your protein, you guys, you're going to be like, but my fats are so high. So then we have to be like, okay, how can I still hit this protein but get my fat down? That's one of the reasons I will eat the super lean ground turkey. I look for the leanest beef possible. If shrimp is one of my best friends. Is why I had shrimp the other day, because I needed protein, but I didn't have any fats hardly left. So look for things like that. White fish is going to be lower in fat than a salmon. But that's a really, really great point, Leanne. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Eggs is another good one. You may want to think about a mixture of whole egg with egg whites. I just do the egg white thing, but if you do all eggs, you're going to notice the fats just creep up. Whole eggs.
Yeah, and we're not anti-fat, especially egg yolks. But when it comes to fat loss, like, if you said fat loss was your goal, there are certain things that we need to do. Eating for wellness is different than eating for fat loss.
Yep.
How do you weigh things for the macros with the bone in? I would take it off of the bone. That's what I would do. Is that what you do, Leanne?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't eat bone in very often anymore.
I don't
but
either.
Yes.
Ain't got the fats for it.
I need those fats for other things. Also, when you're cooking, you may just remember, if you're cooking with an oil or something, use your best estimate as far as how much oil you used. That can be one that you kind of forget to log, and then you may be eating more fats than you think you are if you're not logging it.
That's the truth. And when it comes to chicken or any protein, weigh it after you grill it or saute it or bake it. With the meats, weigh it after you cook it. With grains, rice, oatmeal, things like that, weigh it before you add the water. And if you forget, just make sure you're consistent in what you are doing. What else? We'll talk about going out to dinner a little bit more. Things like that. We already talked about cooked, uncooked. You guys
That's
watching? Any
it.
questions? I think that's it. I think we got the big stuff, you guys.
One more thing I just thought of. Don't be
What?
discouraged if you can't hit your macros right away. Some
Yes.
of us will hit our macros. Some of us have been tracking macros for a while. Don't be discouraged if you're like, I can't do this. This takes time. It's a learning process. You're not going to be perfect right away. I mean, that's awesome if you are. I'm always surprised when I see those people, but don't be discouraged. There's things we can adjust. If you need help, we're here to help you, because this is not something that may feel exactly natural right away. And then pretty soon your body likes it and you start to just naturally do this. But just hang in there and don't try to be perfect right away. This is a learning experience for all of us.
Yes. So next week when we start posting our screenshots, please, if you're way off, know that you will not be the only person off. I never expect anybody to hit them in the first week. And we can't help you. Like, that's how we help you. We're like, oh, I see you only ate 40 grams protein today. This is how we're going to help you get that higher number. Anita, so with you not being able to match your macro numbers, first change your calories. Change the calories to whatever calorie I gave you, and then change the percentages. I believe Becky had that same issue. And if you still can't get it, just post it in the group and like I'll log in as you and change it for you. While I've got you, I meant to talk about this at the very beginning of the call, but I'll wrap up with this. Again, for any questioners in the group of the 4 tendencies, if you're like, how did you come up with this? You guys, there's basic rules for calculating macros, standard practices. If fat loss is your goal, I took your weight and I multiplied it anywhere between 11 and 12, depending on your height and your age. Standard operating practices are to take your weight and multiply it between 10 and 12 to get that fat loss macro. I never do 10 anymore unless I'm working with somebody one-on-one and I can monitor what they're doing on a daily basis and a weekly basis. Since this is the group coaching, I like to play it a little bit more conservative. And if you don't start to feel changes in your body, we have wiggle room. But that's how I got your calories. This is the way to do it. And protein is going to be around anywhere between 30 and 40%, again, based on your weight, based on how old you are. I look at those things. So that's how, if you think you're eating a lot, it's based on your weight. And if you're a taller, larger person, you get to eat more. I always feel bad when I see my 5'2" gals, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. But I forget you're a little person. So little people get less, big people get more, just because you need more energy to run your body. So that's how I came up with your numbers. And one last thing, sorry. As we are ramping up, your goal, number 1, hit your calories. Number 2, hit that protein. After that, let the chips fall as they may for this first week, okay? So don't feel overwhelmed. Just try and hit the calories and your protein, and then we can go from there and tweak. Got anything else, Leon?
This works. If you
Yeah.
comply, this works. I know it does. I've felt that. I've seen it in a lot of different clients. This stuff works if you really comply and commit to it and keep it as consistent as possible.
And I will say this as well. Lisa, I still owe you yours because you're a special case. Libby and Lisa, I still owe you yours. See, and that's the deal with tracking too. The longer you do it, the more things I have to take into consideration. But everyone else, if you filled out the screen or the thing, you have yours. There have been a time when my macros weren't working for me, and I had to get real. And I had to be like, Kylie, remember when you were packing lunch and you ate like 2 servings of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Kylie, remember when you grabbed a handful of nuts out of Pat's cabinet? Kylie, remember when? So if it's not working for you, you have to get real with yourself. I don't know exactly what's going on because I know sometimes we don't enter things. But just know you're not the only one that has to get real with yourself sometimes. I straight up had to do it and it sucked. But then changes started happening again. So, yeah. Cool. So that's
Cool.
it, you guys. Post your questions on the video and we will get you taken care of. Have a wonderful day. If you haven't let us know what you're eating for protein today, please let us know and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Leanne.
Yep.